Say hello.
You have to
Let's try
say
again.
it.
Hi, my name is David, and we're gonna.
We can't hear you. What?
My name's David, and we're gonna.
Talk.
This is his first one.
Oh my god.
Very poorly prepared
Last minute.
because his mother's been telling him for months. And who's me? And they did it yesterday.
Hi, my name's David, and
My name's Jake,
we're gonna tell you about the life of a sheep.
which is pretty interesting. Alright, so life of sheep. It usually starts around breeding season, which is mid-October, and the rams and the ewes are all mixed together. And after about the first 17 days, the ewe gets pregnant, and then around the middle of March, the lambs are born, and that's called lambing.
So after lambing, the sheeps are herd animals, so they'll stay together in large groups.
You get them their vaccinations, make sure they're all healthy and living.
You also deworm them so that they don't have any worms or diseases.
And now deworming, you don't want to do it too often, otherwise they'll become drug resistant to what you're using. So you always want to like switch it up, or you can
Yeah.
deworm it.
And
All right, so where we keep the sheep, you can either keep them outside, in outside pens, or inside in a barn. It doesn't really matter where you do it.
Yeah. And honestly does depend on like how many sheep you have. Like if you have a big herd of like 47 or even 100 sheep, you're not gonna keep them in a pen. You're gonna keep them outside and let them graze on the grass. But if you have like a few sheep, then like let's say you're gonna take the farm show, you're gonna keep them inside and you're gonna feed them different types of feeds to make sure that they gain the correct amount of weight.
Now the feeds we usually do, they have like corn, barley, minerals,
Yeah.
and then the actual feed. But other people, they use different things. Not everyone's feed is the same. It can always be different.
tell us some fun facts.
So as you can see on my if you can see the diagram, you can see the different parts,
Which are
which are the ribs, the shoulders, the hocks. The hocks are right here, the flank, and then these are the claw, the loin, the hip, the rump, or the butt, the throat, the muzzle, the ears, and the forehead. And the other diagram is more like pieces of meat, like you have the neck, you have the shoulder, you have the rib, the loin, the shank, the leg, the breast, the foreshank, the shank.
And then with the meat, some pieces are always better than others. They'll sell more, they're a better quality, better cut. And animals, they can have different varying pieces. So,
fun facts.
Oh no. You're not done yet.
Fun facts.
Take it up.
Come on.
So does anyone have any questions? Yes.
So we have to get it. Your job.
A sheep usually lives around 10 to 12 years, but with market animals, they'll live around a year because they go to market and they're sold for meat. So it really just depends. Like if you're keeping a sheep as a pet, it will live around 10 years as long as it's healthy and well fed.
Why do we buy land? When you go shopping, why do we buy land?
So when you go to the market and you buy lambs, there's always different pieces. Like you can buy some of the loin, the ribs, the breast, and then
It's tasty.
what? What?
How old?
Oh, how old?
6 months.
So
6 to 8
lambs
months.
are around 6 to 8 months old. Or less than.
Repeat the question. You repeat the question. How old are the lambs?
What was the question?
How old how old are lambs?
All right, so lambs, they're around 6 to 8 months old. All right, and it's always less than a year because then once they're a year old, it turns into a ram.
Or ewe, depending on the gender. So a ewe is a female lamb, a ram is a male lamb that hasn't been neutered, and a weathered is a male ram that has been neutered. Rams are sheep. Sheep is like the species that they are, and then rams is like a ram is like how you call a bull. It's like all bulls are cows, but male cows are called bulls and male sheep are called rams. You call a female sheep a ewe.
So what we do is we walk out, get the question,
Oh.
Gentlemen, can you tell me some of the techniques you use for training the sheep for a Pennsylvania Farm Show?
and then we come back and we answer the question.
Alright, so some of the techniques we use are we usually practice on where we keep them. So we walk them in circles, we have a judge. We usually see like what we can improve on, how we need to walk them different ways.
How to.
We also weigh them to see if they're market weight or not. We also make sure that they're lean and not chubby when we measure their weight. And we also learn different techniques on how to set them, move them in the ring.
How do you get used to being around people in large crowds?
We at Fox Chase Farms we have smaller events, obviously smaller than this, but it gets them used to it, and it's also kind of like not every like it's like how not it's not like it's kind of like how not everyone's okay with being around huge larger people. It's the same with sheep. Some are better than others. Some are shyer. Some are more abrasive. It really depends on their personality, and like it just depends on their personality and how you like keep them. Because if you're very like bashful, and like if you give off a demeanor that you're like upset, and they'll get upset too because they can feel that.
And so like some of the animals, like if they're more used to it, they'll just open right up. They'll be friendly with people. Other ones, they'll try and hide away or get like anxious and upset and want to go back inside to their pen. So it just depends.
What do you feed your sheep?
So different people feed their sheep different things. Some people, they'll feed their sheep like just grass off their farm. But we feed our sheep feed, which is just like nutrients is that they need, corn and barley like Jake said. And then we'll also give them hay, and then we'll let them graze on the fields too. So it's basically, it depends on what you want from your sheep. Because if you're going for a market sheep, you want to control what they eat so they get the right things. They get the right nutrients that they need. But if you're like raising them for wool, it doesn't you don't have to worry as much about what they eat, so long as they're not like getting malnourished or not.
Are you showing your sheep here this week?
We've already shown our sheep. We showed their sheeps.
You showed your sheep. Tell me about your day.
Okay, so we showed our sheep Saturday, and on the day, it was pretty much you go, you come, you grab your sheep, you make sure they're clean, that you touch up their shearing to make sure that their body, yeah, we wash them. You make sure that you just make sure that they look presentable and nice. You clean off their legs, you fluff their legs, because you don't shave past the hock and knee, so that part's all like their wool's still there, so you kind of fluff it out with like a blow dryer or a brush to make sure that it looks nice. And then you also make sure that that you give them a close shave of your wool so the judge can actually see their body instead of the wool. And then you also shave their head, and you make sure that they're clean, nice, and presentable.
And relaxed.
It takes around, depending on how long, like if you start from scratch, like you get a sheep, it'll take like an hour, I'd say, because you have to shear them. But if you sheared them before and their hair hasn't grown that much, it'll take like 10, 25 minutes.
Like half an hour to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
How often do you shear them for?
So shearing them, we usually shear them around every couple months.
Yeah, we shear them like every couple of months. It depends on how close you want to do it to farm show. Like you don't want to do it, like for me, I don't want to do it too like close to farm show because then it gets cold and they'll be cold. But then you don't want to do it too away from farm show that their hair just grows back, and then there was just no point in doing it. So it's kind of like finding that equilibrium where it's not cold, but it's also not like too long. It's too early for you to do it.
So it's like winter. You don't want them freezing off
Yeah.
by having no wool, but then in the summer you also don't want them getting overheated. So you want to make sure it's a nice balance.
Are you selling any of your products that you make?
We don't make yes.
No.
So during farm show, you show them, you show the sheep, and then the top 5 sheep get to go to auction. And my sheep got 3rd place. So Tuesday he'll be going to auction. And
That's all we
it.
have.
Like when we're outside of like farm show, like on other project periods, we'll have other sheep and we'll sell them, or we'll get them loaned from someone who donates them to us, and then we'll loan them back, like we take care of them.
Do you have to do anything to take care of the hooves?
The hooves we usually clip to make
Yeah.
sure that they're not too long, but
Yeah.
then you also don't want it too short so that where they're like cut, because then it like helps prevent infection and disease, keeps them healthy.
Why do you shear your sheep?
So you shear your sheep for 2 reasons. Fun fact, actually.
Fun fact.
Domestic sheep don't stop growing their wool out. So if you just leave it there, their wool will just keep growing and growing. So if like for wool sheep, you use their wool, so you shear it. And then also like if it's in the summertime and they have like a lot of wool on them, they're gonna get really hot really fast. And it's just for safety, and for market, it's like so they can. And for market, like I've said, it's so you can see their body and make sure that they're nice and presentable.
Muscular.
What is the market animal? What is a market animal?
What is a market animal? All right.
So the market animal is the sheep that you're presenting in farm show. There's different breeds of market animals. We show Dorsets, which is a meat breed, and I'm pretty sure most, if not all of the breeds shown at farm show are meat sheep. So they're sold, they're processing the meat products, and then they're eaten, which is quite sad sometimes. So
Also, if you can't tell, there's like not just sheep, other animals too.
yeah.
I sort of have 2 questions. How old is your 3rd place winner?
9 months? Yeah, he's 9 months.
Okay, and when I go to the grocery store, my local farmer's market, and I buy a leg of lamb, how old is that lamb? Is it, could it be like 3 years old? And just
If
called
it
a
was
lamb?
3 years old, then it'd be a ram. It would be mutton technically.
But in the
Because-
grocery store, I've never seen mutton for sale, or in the farmer's market, they always sell lamb.
It's probably because most sheep meat products are made from lambs instead of sheep.
Okay.
So it's more likely. Like my sheep, he'll probably be going to market, and you'll probably find him in a supermarket one day, and he will be a lamb because he's not 3 years old. So lambs are typically like a year at most to like from they're born, so they're lambs, and then all that is either rams are used depending on their gender.
Can you guys share your experience when you're in the ring showing your sheep and tell the kids a little bit about what happens there?
Alright, so in the ring, when you're there, you go in and usually we're all with each other because we get the same breed, but you're also mixed in with other people that you don't know from all over Pennsylvania. And so you walk in and you're not allowed to use your halter. And so usually you want to like keep facing the judge and make sure that he can see the animal and you're not blocking it. And you want to be looking at him, make it seem like you're happy and having a good time. And then after a while, you'll walk around and then you'll try and set your animal. And once you do that, the judge comes over. He usually, feels around, looks at it, and then you get placed. And he talks about to the crowd, like what's good with the animal, what he doesn't like.
What does
and
it
why you
mean
got
to
placed.
set the animal? What does it mean to set the animal?
To set the animals to move their legs so it's like a table, so their front legs are behind their chest, and then their back legs are extended. Like they're extended, and then they're like in the same position. They're like, it's like it, like if you imagine if you put a sheep in a position of a table, that's how they look, and then that's how you set them. That's how you make them like look presentable, and then. Do you have anything to add, Jake? Nope.
Why don't you tell us a little bit how a 4-H member spends his Saturdays with his sheep? How do you take care of him, clean him, feed him, things like that?
Alright, so every Saturday we come on. Usually like a whole club meeting to see what we need to do and what's been going on. And then after that you split into your own group. So usually we start off by weighing them first and seeing how much they gained from last week to this week.
And then we basically we gather around. If we have to medicate the sheep, then we'll grab the sheep, medicate them,
And document it.
And then we'll write it down because if anything happens to a sheep and it's been medicated, the vet has to know what they've taken, so you have to write it down and make sure that it's someplace safe. And then after that, we'll do chores. We'll split into we have a group of 9 people, and so we'll split up. Some of us will set up the feed for the week. Some of us will clean out their pens and put fresh and new hay in there, and then some will
them
go
hay
and
bags.
grab straw to for their feed. And then
You got backwards.
and then at the end
Yeah,
of
we
it,
feed them hay.
we feed them hay, and then we put straw in their pens. And so then we normally group again, and then we grab our sheep, and then we train them, and then we walk around, we raise them in the fields, and then we practice showing.
And they run. You race them.
Excuse me. With the dirty straw, we put it in a wheelbarrow, and then we take it to. Well, we have a pile of dirty straw, and then we dump it in there, and then one of the
It composts.
What?
Yes.
Yes, it does get composted.
Why did you guys choose to do sheep instead of any other breed?
Well, I joined. Didn't feel like doing anything else. It's kind of full. Sheep had an opening. Ta-da.
But you're still with sheep.
I
Why?
picked sheep because it seemed like the funnest to me. It was very enjoyable. They're very docile, friendly creatures. They have a very calm demeanor to them, and plus they're very easy to walk and train.
Take your show on the road.
Oh, what do you do with the wool from the sheep when you shear the sheep?
So, the Dorsets that we have, the wool, it's not really used for anything, so we just bag it up and throw it away.
Yeah. We don't, so for meat sheep, their wool isn't made to sew with, so it's not as quality as wool sheep that are bred to have wool. So
Nice
with wool
wool.
sheep, you want to shear it in sheets, so it's all kind of fleeces, so it's all together. And then we normally bag it up, and let's say the sheep get donated to us, or we're taking them and taking care of them. We'll send that wool to whoever we donate to them because it's their animal and it's their wool.
Jake.
Do sheepdogs generally corral the sheep?
We don't have like if you have like a flock of sheep, like then yes you have to corral the sheep to get them in a certain area. But we don't have that many sheep at Fox Chase Farm, so we don't really need a sheepdog.
You got Tibby.
How long have you been members of the farm?
So I've been doing it for about 3 years now. And David, how long?
This is my second year at Farm Shop.
Is there a certain weight you need to take the sheep to farm show? And if so, how do you make the weight?
Yes, there is a certain weight. I believe it is.
You believe 65?
65 pounds to make weight. Obviously, you don't want a 65-pound sheep. They're obviously probably gonna be malnourished. And to make the weight, it's all about maintaining. It's all about feed gain, and like there's a way to measure that. So let's say I don't remember how to measure it because
that math.
So there's a way to measure it where basically you have the sheep and then you have to find how much food you want to give that sheep so they gain a certain amount of weight, and then like once you get to a certain point that you like have a comfortable weight, you have to find a way to maintain it.
Minimum weight. I don't remember what exactly it is, but it's not 65.
Yeah, it's not 65. Mine.
Oh, that's a goat.
When we checked in to Farm Show, he was 124 pounds, which was I'd say a pretty good weight.
And the minimum weight is 90 pounds.
90.
Is there any funny things that the sheep do?
There are definitely some funny things that the sheep do. Sometimes we've had sheep that have opened their pen gates and gotten out. We've had sheep that have jumped a lot. And we've also had sheep that when we shear them, we put them on stands. We've had sheep that have gotten off the stand and took the thing that holds their head so they don't like shake around and just started running around with it. And we've also had sheep that have knocked over. We've also had a goat that knocked over my mom.
Yeah.
So there are some funny things that happen.
Last question.
If sheep are too heavy, do you put them in a different pen?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's not even about if they're too heavy. It's also if they're if they don't have enough weight on them, because they need to be a certain weight for farm show. So like with Jake's sheep was around the same weight as my sheep, but his was...
My sheep had a smaller frame, so it ended up looking more chunky.
So his looked more fat, and mine looked more lean, so they needed to separate his sheep with another sheep that was also having similar weight problems so that they could get on track, so they would look more presentable. And it's also where, like, if you have sheep with varying weights, like mine's 140 and Jake's is like 140, and Jake's is like 180, and Jake's shouldn't be 180, then you need to lessen his feed, but you can't also like stop mine from like maintaining its weight if we want it to be that weight. So it's all about balance. It's really just a balancing act.
It's just a balancing act.
And I think we're done, right?
And we're done.
I'd say yes. Mom, are you proud of me?
I am very proud of you.